Today's video is going to be a little different than my normal conversations surrounding nicotine, THC, energy drinks, and adult media content, substances I once struggled with. To learn more about our programs to help you quit, be sure to check out the video description or pinned comment links at the end of today's video. I'm actually going to spend some time talking about microdosing. After struggling with addiction for several years myself and working with tons of people, whether it be through DMs, emails, one-on-one coaching, or our private school community, I do understand that sobriety is not for everyone. And some people do worse sober. I understand that that's a reality. I think it's for a small population of people, but I understand that's a reality. And for some people, sobriety is not the desirable outcome. They prefer moderation when it comes to substance use. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about in today's video. Now, for me, moderation wasn't something that I wanted to go for because I found trying to moderate my behaviors equally, if not more painful than just outright consuming them. So for me, trying to moderate a person who's not a person of moderation just really didn't make any sense, okay? But for some people it might. And I think there's a few things to consider. Let's start with nicotine, then we'll talk about cannabis, then we'll talk about alcohol and adult media content. So let's say you currently smoke cigarettes or vape or something like that, and you're smoking a bunch of cigarettes every day or vaping every day, or let's say you even use a product like Zyn, nicotine pouches, and you're going through a tin a day. At some point, you're going to be using the substance to an extent that it's no longer enjoyable, okay? And I can understand if someone comes to me and says, Dr. Frank, there are aspects of consuming cannabis or nicotine or alcohol or adult media content that I do enjoy. Irrelevant of what you tell me about dopamine and a lack of joy and addiction, there are things that I do enjoy. I can understand that and I can take that face value. So the question becomes, how can you consume this substance and still maintain a level of benefit or joy from continued substance use? And I think for a lot of people, the answer will lie in microdosing caffeine, microdosing nicotine, microdosing cannabis. And by the way, cannabis isn't just in reference to THC. We could be talking about CBD, CBG, CBN, all of that stuff, okay? I don't know about microdosing alcohol. We can mention it. And then microdosing adult media content. So let's talk about all this. Nicotine, going back to nicotine. If you smoke cigarettes or you vape, I think it's pretty widely accepted that these things are terrible for your health. And eventually the health consequences are probably going to catch up. It depends on your genetics. It depends on how much you do it. It depends on the brand and the products, but probably a bad outcome, okay? So at that point, you have to look at it and say, okay, what is it I enjoy about this activity? If you vape or smoke cigarettes, chances are it's related to the nicotine. Now, there's many ways you could consume nicotine. You could consume it in a nicotine gum. You could do a nicotine mint. If you feel like you're going to abuse those, you could switch over to a low-dose nicotine patch. Nicorette makes a 7 milligram timed-release nicotine patch. You could look into low-dose nicotine pouches. Now, to be very clear, nicotine pouches are not an FDA-approved form of nicotine replacement therapy, but I do think in time these will be proven to be a form of harm reduction. There are brands of snus. I know the brand General has already applied and been granted by Swedish Match a harm reduction form of nicotine as compared to smoking cigarettes. Now, when it comes to the nicotine, though, I think it's important that you pay attention to what type of nicotine you're consuming. And this is why I threw Zyn under the bus. Zyn uses a certain type of nicotine. It's called like nicotine bihydroxide or something. It's a very specific form of nicotine salt. It's a pharmaceutical nicotine salt. So it hits your bloodstream faster and it exits faster. There's another brand of nicotine pouches out there on the market called Lucy, Lucy nicotine or something. And they make a 4 milligram pouch. It's a moist pouch, which is going to be better in theory. In theory, talk to your dentist for your gums and for your oral health, because those dry pouches are shown to cause more irritation and more problems. When you look at a history of dry snus versus moist snus, okay? Going back to this, though, they use nicotine prolax, which is the same nicotine found in nicotine patches by Nicorette or nicotine gums by Nicorette. This is nicotine. It's pharmaceutical-grade nicotine derived from the tobacco plant, as compared to being like a straight salt like Zyn uses. So it's more time released, it's more slow release, the effects last a little longer, and in my opinion, the chances of abuse are lower as compared to the nicotine that you're getting in a vape or the nicotine that you're getting in a Zyn pouch or something like that. Okay? Now, the next question becomes, if you're trying to enjoy it, chances are the enjoyment comes from a micro dose. With nicotine, you're talking doses as low as 0.5 milligrams a day, maybe lower in some cases. So you're talking like a piece of 2 milligram Nicorette gum, 4 milligram nicotine pouch for the day. And that's where you're talking about reaching like the therapeutic benefit without some of the negatives that come along with it, right? Because the more you abuse it, the more negatives you get. The more negatives you get, the less pleasure you're going to get in consuming the substance. So if you want to enjoy consuming nicotine, weed, alcohol, adult media content, moderation and microdosing would probably be the path to doing so, okay? And again, my channel helps people quit these things. That's what I help people do. But this conversation is worth some time, because there is value in harm reduction. And in the case of smoking cigarettes, vaping, we're talking about harm reduction. So if you enjoy nicotine, you can't seem to get away from it, or you have and you've decided you enjoy your life more with it, could you look into microdosing nicotine in a less harmful form than vaping or smoking? Now, before you do that, I'd highly recommend you check out our Kick It Crave Less chewing gum supplement. Nicotine-free, cannabis-free, caffeine-free, contains KSM 66 ashwagandha and N-acetylcysteine. Because I am a fan of substance use, I guess, right? I still use supplements. I still do that because I like the cognitive benefits. So I went out and I developed our own chewing gum to kind of replace some of those other things for me. Okay, back to our topic of harm reduction, if you will. That's really what we're talking about. Cannabis, what about that? Well, I think you have to look nowadays. They make all types of cannabis products out there, and they make tons of cannabis products that are micro-dosed. I know there's a brand of drink online. I actually use their drink, their cannabis-free version. It's called BREZ, I think. It was some viral drink I found on TikTok. It's kind of like an alcohol alternative. It contains like a mega dose of lion's mane, okay? I like that drink. I don't use their cannabis containing one, but they do make one that contains a microdose of THC, okay? Would that be an option for someone who's looking to quit smoking cannabis? We're removing the harmful effects of smoking. The drink is pre-dosed and it's damn expensive, so I don't think you're going to go through too many of them. And it's a microdose. So is that an option? We change our mode of consumption. We change our quantity of consumption. And in the case of that drink, I'm not sponsored by Lucy or Breeze or any of these things I'm mentioning, guys. I push my own products. I push my own things, right? Because that's what I'm most proud of and confident in. But you can read about these things and look at them. Do your own research, though. But we've now, changed the mode of consumption, changed the quantity, and put a self-limiting restriction on cost probably on that drink, okay? So is that an option for a person? If they're trying to microdose cannabis, maybe smoking it, obviously bad for your lungs, maybe hard to regulate. So maybe a tincture or some type of edible, well-controlled, get it from a dispensary, lab-tested, edible, under the supervision of your doctor, of course. Maybe that's a reasonable option for you. And maybe that accomplishes what you want. Now maybe you've negated the negative side effects of smoking, and maybe you've negated the super high concentration THC, which in most cases is ruining it for people. Now, I will say this. Just stay away from Delta 8, Delta 10, Delta HAAC, whatever else is floating around out there. Stick to the known stuff, okay? There's too much weird stuff going on with those other gas station products and vape shop products that are in the Delta space. High quality CBD, that's an option. CBN, CBG, some of these CBN, CBD, CBG combinations, that's an option. Is just microdosing THC with a really high CBD, that's an option, okay? There's a lot of ways that you could go about this and still maybe enjoy the benefits of cannabis without falling victim to addiction or continuing down the path of addiction. Now, I, in theory, microdosed alcohol for years before finally stopping. I used to binge drink heavily. Then I went down to just drinking on, just weekends. So it'd be like 2 days a week, 3, 4 drinks though. Then it went down to like a drink, and I was at a drink a weekend. So you're talking 4 drinks a month. And I did that for a super long time before I finally decided to quit, because for me, a drink wouldn't give me a buzz. So what was the point of buying one $20 martini that's not going to give me a buzz? I didn't want to drink more than a drink, because once I got a buzz, I was wasting money. I was getting hungover. I was getting drunk, and I didn't want to be. So alcohol, the microdose for me, I did it for a long time in theory, just because I didn't want to let go of that alcohol. But it really didn't make sense. Whereas I could make sense of microdosing nicotine. I could make sense of microdosing cannabis based on how my body responded to it in a positive way. Now, to be clear, for those of you that have followed me for a long time, I suffered from a condition known as CHS, so I really can't ever consume cannabis again, even if I wanted to. Granted, I have zero desire to, okay? I find plenty of joy in taking ashwagandha and lion's mane and all that stuff when I want a little extra kick in my day, okay? Kick it, crave less chewing gum, the gum with a kick that helps you quit. That's what we say. So that's alcohol. That's my opinion on it. I don't really understand microdosing it. Maybe if you had a super low tolerance, it would make sense. And maybe if you didn't get hungover, it would make sense. And maybe if it didn't cost a lot of money, it would make sense. Cannabis, I can see the medicinal benefit. Nicotine, I can see the cognitive benefit. I don't know about alcohol, though. The more I talk about alcohol, the more useless it seems to me. Sure, I had fun with it binge drinking in my college years, but outside of those years, I don't understand. Continuing on, adult media content. So can you microdose adult media content? I think a lot of people inadvertently wind up doing this, where they watch it once a month, twice a month, once a week, not an everyday thing. And I think the person in that case has to assess whether or not that is or is not having a negative impact on their life. I know quitting adult media content can lead to some serious feelings of depression and anxiety if you used to consume it a lot. And a lot of people that I've worked with, whether it's in our private AddictionMindset group coaching school community, which, by the way, if you join that at the time I release this video, I'll send you a coupon code where you'll get a free bottle 30 count of Kick It Crave Less chewing gum and a free deep breathing necklace to help relieve stress and anxiety. And also, if you take a hit from it, it also kind of mimics taking a hit from a cigarette or a vape, but then you can exhale through it to slow down your breathing with the physiological side. We send you instructions and all that when you get it. But anyways, if you join our community and you want to talk about some of this stuff, microdosing, quitting, you can join that community for $27 a month and get $50 in free product. Anyways, link in the pinned comment. I think that's where you have to start. You have to start by assessing, do I care that I'm consuming adult media content in smaller quantities? Is it having a negative impact on my life? Or do I only care because I've watched other videos on it that care, and I'm kind of, sucked into this whole no-fap Reddit world of quitting? Is it really impacting you in a negative way? If it is, how would you microdose that? Well, I don't know. There's still images, okay? You could start to lower your tolerance to it, get away from video, go into still images, right? Some people just do that off of social media, even post, okay? Not something I ever fell victim to, but it's something that people will do. There's ways to lower your tolerance to the content that you're watching. And once you lower your tolerance, you might be more capable of microdosing that type of content, okay? That's kind of my take on that. Now, I think with any of this, whether it's adult... I was saying something, though, because if you're doing that, you're quitting adult media content and you're getting extreme depression or anxiety or suicidal ideation, or you just don't want it, you've lost all will to live, well... if you go from watching it every day to once a week, once a month, and that's just enough to prep you up again a little bit to keep going with your quit, that might not be the end of the world, right? That might not be a bad thing. You might be inadvertently microdosing it as you kind of wean off of it and get to a point of consumption that you're either okay with or a point of no consumption at all, depending on your unique situation with this stuff, okay? And I could actually say that for any of these substances, right? Someone might switch to nicotine gum, or someone might switch to a product like Lucy and be very happy that they made that transition and no longer care to quit nicotine because the negatives that they were experiencing are gone. You're still going to get negatives, decreased blood flow to the joints, decreased blood flow to the brain. Addiction is still a possibility there, okay? But the person might not care because they're no longer smoking cigarettes or vaping. It just depends on the individual, okay? I hope this video helped. I hope it makes some sense of some things. And look, at the end of the day, it's not about being sober or this or that, right? If someone's addicted to weed and they switch to CBD, or they're addicted to cigarettes and they switch to nicotine patches, we've probably accomplished a lot in doing that, okay? So like, in my opinion, could you microdose and still be quote unquote sober? Could you still benefit all the same benefits that someone who's sober experiences? Yes. For some people, may that be a better option? Yes. And if that's what you're like trying to wrap your head around doing, it's not that think about it. You're doing something so you can enjoy something that you used to enjoy again. For some people, they're too far gone and there's just going to be no joy in that substance no matter what. And I would only encourage this too. Maybe after a period of abstinence, or trying to make sure you can maintain some abstinence, because I think you owe it to yourself to see what's on the other side of that coin when it comes to substance use. You can always decide to go back to full-blown use, to microdose use. You can always decide to do that, right? I can't make that decision for you. No one can. That's ultimately your decision, your choice. If you like this conversation, check out our Addiction Mindset School community. Again, get some free products if you join. At least that offer is valid when I made this video. I don't know if it will be when you join. We have our one-on-one coaching programs. I talk to people about this stuff when we're coming up with plans for quitting. I'm not just some Gestapo who's going to sit here and say, stop smoking weed, stop vaping. I wouldn't charge someone that amount of money just to sit here and tell them that, okay? Unless that's what they wanted me to do for 2 hours. No, I still wouldn't. I'd still do something better. We have our Q&A session, and we have a bunch of free PDFs and free handouts to help you guys quit if you just want to start there, okay? But you owe it to yourself. If you're struggling with addiction, you owe it to yourself to at least try and microdose if that's less overwhelming than going completely sober. If you don't like that idea because you're like me and you're all in, well, you owe it to yourself to try sobriety and see what's on that side of the coin, right? You always have the ability to choose back and forth. Best of luck. I hope this helps. If you don't want to do any of that stuff, go into the pinned comment or video description. Just hit me in the next video, okay?